Welcome to The Div and our series on professional expectations. I'm Lieutenant Navy Alex Wood from 4th Canadian Division Public Affairs in Toronto, Ontario. As members of the profession of arms, we are held to high standards and are expected to uphold the values of the Canadian Armed Forces. Our 8 professional expectations are provided through the Canadian Armed Forces ethos, trusted to serve. Our topic today is readiness, and joining me are Sergeant Veronica Mann and Master Corporal Mark Kim. In 1994, Sergeant Mann joined the reserves as a naval communicator. Her first military adventure was boot camp in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where she was awarded Top Female Athlete. She has sailed to Bermuda, Newfoundland, and completed a Great Lakes tour. She was later posted to CFB Esquimalt on board HMCS Protector as a cook. She was also a member of the Naval Landing and Boarding Party. Today, Sergeant Mann is Dental Clinic Coordinator of 1 Dental Unit Detachment Toronto, where she oversees clinic operations and personnel. Master Corporal Mark Kim has been with the Canadian Armed Forces since 2016. After graduating from high school, Master Corporal Kim immediately enlisted in the Canadian Army Reserves, where he served and completed his undergraduate degree from the University of Toronto at the same time. In 2021, he was deployed to the Southwest Asia Theater under the command of Operational Support Hub, where he provided essential administrative services for all countries in the Joint Operations Area. He currently serves as a human resource administrator with 2 Intelligence Company in Toronto. So welcome to both of you.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I always like to start out and learn a little bit more about folks in terms of who you are and sort of how you came into the military. So, Sergeant Mann, I'll start with you. A few years ago, you embarked on this journey. What induced you to join the Naval Reserves initially, and how did you get into your first trade?
Well, it was a no-brainer, actually. My friend came to me and said, "Hey, Veronica, do you want to not do math?" And I was like, "Sure, I'm in. What do I got to do?" She said, "You can join the reserves." And one of the reserve units in Hamilton, where I'm from, would offer 4 credits. So I was like, sign me up. I need to get out of math. So anyway, I went down to the recruitment center, and they were like, sorry, you have to do math. The only place we can put you is in the Naval Reserve right now. So I got pretty lucky. I signed up, joined the Naval Reserve, and I still did math. So it was pretty good. And where I'm at right now, just simply, I'm a person who just likes to dabble in everything, and I like new challenges. So I've kind of bounced around 5 different trades in the military, and I've settled into dental nicely and immensely enjoy it.
Excellent. And Mark, for yourself, you've not been around as many years, but you've been doing this for a while. But it seems like you were pretty eager right out of high school. You enlisted, but you're going to university at the same time. Tell me about the fit in terms of being a student and being an Army reservist.
Of course. So the fit between the two is, of course, always going to be a balancing act here. There's times where studies have to take priority over military, and there's times where military exercises or training have to take priority over my schooling here. Oftentimes, regardless, I had great support from both sides here. The military were very accommodating with my educational needs, and my institution at University of Toronto were phenomenal at being able to give me extensions, give me further counseling, or give me anything that I needed in order to be successful in both sides of the field here that I was interested in here. Quite frankly, I just had amazing undergraduate advisors that stuck with me and helped me throughout the process, because oftentimes, especially just starting at that first year, it's still trying to get your feet wet, trying to get everything and trying to learn where you're supposed to be. They were phenomenal helps on both sides here.
And what did you major in at University of Toronto?
I majored a double major in political science and philosophy here, sir. So I did that for 4 years and loved every bit of it, honestly.
And now a human resources administrator with the military.
Yes, sir.
Right on.
Yeah.
So Veronica, what's the What's the most exciting part of your day? You know, if they're working in the dental clinic and seeing everybody that comes and goes, what's the best part of it?
I think the patients. The patients by far are the best part. I love watching them come in, seeing the smile on their faces, and if they don't want to be there, I love putting that smile on their face. I'll sit down and have that conversation, try to put them at ease, and then when they leave the dental clinic and they leave happy, it's a joy. I think that's honestly the best part of my day.
So our topic is readiness, you know, and this is one of those professional expectations that's sort of handed down to us. But again, it's one of these things that I think has all many different meanings in different contexts. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that. And I'll start with you, Veronica, in terms of, again, you know, you've had some experience now in this organization, 5 different trades. You've lived in all kinds of different places and done deployments and all sorts of things. When you think of this word readiness as a member of the military, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Sure. So when I think of readiness, I think of being mentally, physically, and emotionally prepared for anything and all challenges that are to come our way. I feel like if we just pigeonhole ourselves into the term readiness in a military aspect where it's the courses to prepare us to deploy, I think we're not doing ourselves a service. So often coming with the training also comes the emotional and physical and mental preparedness, because if you can't have all those 3 encompassed while you are deploying, your deployment and anything that you do in the forces, especially with the challenges that we do face day to day, it's not going to be that easy for somebody who is not willing to accept all that.
And Mark, you know, you've only fairly recently graduated from university in the last couple of years, so obviously that balance that you talked about between your student life and your career with the Army Reserves. Tell me about how you stay ready, how you stay prepared as a reservist in the military to do your job, to do, you know, the exercises, all the things that are required of you, and yet maintain the balance like you talked about as a student or having some other civilian obligations?
So it's always going to be individually dependent. Some things that work for me will not work for other people here, but it's true. Like the common things that you're expected to be readiness on, we could talk about, you know, the IBT standards, IBTS standards correction. We could talk about, you know, making sure your first aid is good, your gas training is good, your C7, C8 is all good to qualify here. But just going on and adding on to what Sergeant Mann here was saying here, it's phenomenally put. You have to be not just physically well and ready for whatever you are expected to do in your trade or duties. You also have to be, I would argue, mentally as well as spiritually ready for any sort of commands or any sort of tasks that might come your way here. And what I mean by that, of course, those are 2 simple words, but very big in terms of what you can interpret from them, is that I see spirit's where the home is, right? So coming up in a family, immigrant family, or any other situation you might come across, you have to make sure that your family life is good and stable. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, but the biggest thing that you have to be focused on is you have to be there for them, right? Without that home stability, without that home backing you up, your family backing you up, you will never be able to go far because everything will just tear you out. The second reason in terms of mental is that you have to take care of your own mentality. Throughout the roller coaster we call life here, there's going to be ups and there's going to be a lot of downs. But the thing you have to do is that you have to be able to take them in strides. Take them, learn from them. You have the ability to be okay and move forward onto that. So I think those 3 things really stack upon each other, and they have to be all attended to make a holistic individual. That's what, in terms of it, means readiness to me, sir.
I see you nodding your head there on a lot of those points, and just I'm wondering, you know, from your perspective, again, with all of the experiences that you've had and deployments and everything, that support base and all of that, because it's not just the member. I think it's, you know, it's the family, it's the sort of, if you will, village around us that also, comes into play. What do you say about that in your experience?
Yeah, I would 100% agree. Well said. I noted on my deployments when the family isn't doing well, the member isn't doing well. So if you can keep the folks at home happy, the member who's away 100% will be happy every time.
And kind of turning a little bit more now toward your respective careers and trades, if you will. Readiness is a key component of what you not only do for yourselves, but what you provide to other members in the trades that you are involved in. So let's talk about that for a minute. In the dental side of things, the importance of what services the clinic provides in terms of making sure, like right now, as Fortive is now actually in the committed phase, preparing our members to actually do the work that we're going out the door to do. How does the clinic and what you do fit into that picture?
Sure. So I have a couple of experiences with this. But first, when you're talking about home and sending members abroad, they need to be dentally fit, because we're not sure if there'll be a team out there to support them. So they could be out in the field, they could be out in a different country where there is no support, and if they don't have the support and they have a dental emergency, I know it sounds kind of funny, but it can take down the whole team. Because sometimes you might have a person who has an infection, and that infection that can't be treated, now that person is getting sick. And now you need somebody to take care of that person. You may need another person to take that person out. So one person who's being kind of affected by an emergency could have an adverse effect on 3, 4 people, even the whole team. And just from my experiences, when I was overseas, we did see some folks from other supporting nations that didn't quite have the care that we had and the amount of dental emergencies that we were dealing with. Thankfully, we had a team with us that were able to cope with that. Otherwise, those members probably would have either been sent back home or sent to another country or another area of the area that we were in to get seen, which then would, deplete our assets that were on ground defending what we were defending.
And Mark, in your role, human resources, obviously many elements to that, and all of them very important to, again, the support of the member. What are some of the key things that you are doing to make sure that members, again, are ready to go out the door, go on deployment to do the job that they're trained to do?
So in terms of my profession in HRA here, the things that we get ready for them, easiest thing is just annual readiness verification. All the emergency contact notification, the next of kin forms, or family care plans, all those forms that you do on an annual basis, that's the easiest thing that I would explain to a member you need to keep up to date with. The reason why I stress something so simple and something that's often overlooked because of just the sheer annoyance of doing them all every year is because, just drawing from personal experience, there are times when, because of simply outdated forms, despite knowing that this person is no longer with this person or they've separated, on paper they're still married or together on that paperwork. And when this comes into play and when this causes a lot of complications is especially during if there's an unfortunate situation where we had to do casualty admin, where we had to action what we have, and unfortunately the member didn't keep them up to date, and we have to action based on what we have written. That becomes extremely complicated, and those create so much problems that can be just simply avoided were we just to have made sure they were up to date on an annual basis, or when even earlier if that needs to take place. And for my unit particularly, how that plays in is 2 Intelligence is an extraordinarily high-paced unit. I admire working with them just because they have so many different levels of the CAF coming and reaching into this pot of members and the skilled members we have. I have had members who had to go on deployments shorter than like 2 weeks away, and I had to make sure all their administrative were up to date. So that includes the ARVs, but that also includes other items like, for instance, the financial institutions are all up to date, and et cetera, et cetera. So how this comes into play is a plethora of ways, honestly. And it's such a small thing that people overlook all the time, where it's a form, who cares? But it does supremely matter when it does matter, right? So I just want to stress that is something that we have to take into account with every member here.
So clearly, there's a holistic, to use your word there, Mark, effort on the support of multiple units, trades, et cetera, to really, underpin the mission of what we do as a division, as a military, right? Pretty incredible work, and probably not as well understood as it should be by not only military members, but of course the greater public. So really appreciate both of you, really sharing this information. As we sort of, close out today, I just want to get a feel for what's next for each of you. And so Veronica, as you said, over 30 years in multiple trades, obviously you love what you do. What's the next step for you, or is there something that you aspire to do next?
100%. So I have a few goals while I'm still in the service. One of them is we're really blessed to have a ship called the Asterix, and it sails between the East Coast and the West Coast. And I have a Navy background, so I'd like to get back out to the West Coast and sail on the Asterix and lead that team around the world, hopefully, or at least get my sea legs into some different ports, which would be kind of nice as well. My other aspiration is to make it back west, running the dental clinic in Comox, BC, and then possibly achieve that warrant rank for my final few years in the Canadian Armed Forces, and then just rest and retire.
So career manager, are you listening? Did you hear that? and Mark, what about yourself? What do you see yourself doing, in the near future?
For myself here, for the very near future, I'm gonna be celebrating my 8th year in the forces. My enrollment date is this month, actually, so I'm gonna be celebrating that here. But I hope to do continual professional development training, such as going on, I don't know, for instance, like basic para. I've always wanted to do that as an ambition. I know as my trade, it's difficult, but I still want to pursue that if I can ever possibly do it. And if possible, I'd love to get on another deployment. I've been kind of eyeing up Egypt as one of my options here, as like Task Force El Gore, if you know what that one is. But I just seriously think that it would be super cool to be able to go see Egypt on a military tasking here. Aside from that, I intend to stay in for a good number of years, maybe until I get my CD qualification. But yeah, that's essentially where my path for SEAD is.
Well, I really appreciate both of you taking the time and to your respective units for allowing you to take the afternoon and come spend a little bit of time with us to share your story and your information with us. Thank you both so much. Well, folks, thank you for joining us here at the Div in our Professional Expectations series. I'm Lieutenant Navy Alex Wood from 4th Canadian Division Public Affairs. Don't forget to follow us on social media, and we'll see you on the next episode.